Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am Amalgamash, and this is Everlasting Quest Legacy, version 0.2. This is mostly a closed beta test that I have not only been allowed to, but asked to play through for the channel, giving my public opinion about the different things that I'm going to be experiencing here for you. Now, I have a few words to say about all of this already. Not really about this game in particular, but about this sort of experience, this sort of game reviewing. I highly recommend for best FPS use full screen, developed in Bakin version 1.2.2, revision 55643. We have a new game, continue, configure, exit game. Love all of that so far. Animated background, feeling of tenseness, fleur-de-lis in the loading screen. The smell of demons is in the air. Interesting. Hello, Tainted One. We have been expecting you. Since the lands carry the knowledge that I can teach you, I require you to collect different things in order for me to teach you the skills of a witchblade. I will require the following: 10 bones, 10 herbs, and 10 iron. I shall return. I shall await your return. Alright, so first impressions. There is a sound that is playing whenever I push a key, any direction, and the sound repeats when I take my finger off the key. That's a thing. I don't know what it is. But evidently it's the game. Okay, I've fixed it by switching out and then going back in. I guess anyway. If this happens to you, just Alt-Tab out of the application and then go back into it. I think I'm talking more to the developer than to any future players because of the nature of this closed beta test. But my focus was elsewhere. It was outside of the game, and so different keys that I was pressing were causing Windows to give me a sound that was basically, nah, you can't do that. All right, so we have camera rotation. Beautiful. Love that. There's FPS refresh, there's developer, there is the camp chef, there is Abby Sigul, there's a fountain, and there's a camp entrance. We have a lot of stuff going on, and we can actually interact with the cooking pot. This video is going to be a little bit different than a lot of the videos that I make, and here's why. I don't want to edit any of it. I just want to play, and I want to provide a sort of longer, more chill experience. This is feedback for the developer while presenting the elements of the game in its current version to the public. This was something that the developer and I discussed beforehand. And this was actually something that the developer asked of me. I have a bit of a whole spiel on doing things like this. I've had people assume that I take money to play games. I don't. I play games for free. I don't play every game. I'm pretty choosy about the games that I do play. I try to play games made in certain video game engines, and if I play anything else, it's just something that I think happens to be fun. But I have a deliberate mission to play basically any game and every game made. Not that I have played them all now, or I'm completely caught up, but it is part of the mission to play games made in Smile Game Builder, RPG Developer Bakin, RPG Maker, MV if they use the MV or MZ 3D plugins, and there's a short list of other engines as well that are not as prevalent, that are not current at all. Not that MV or MZ are considered current, but they are still widely used. So, and I won't play the current RPG Maker engine. There will not be any Unite on this channel. I'm not wasting $100 to play. Not when I have Bakin, that's for sure. So RPG in a box is another one. I also want to play every project that's out there made for RPG in a box, and that one is growing rapidly as far as user base and projects. So that's going to be a lot of fun to try to keep caught up with. So you could expect themed weeks like that again. But right now, I want to talk about the practice that some people have. And while I'm not calling out anybody in particular, I guess I am kind of calling out every single content creator who the majority of their content is RPG Maker games. Those who have a sort of like patron tier where they accept money to play a game. If that tier is simply pay me and I'll play and review your game, that is pretentious as hell. I don't care who you are. I know there are a number of prominent RPG Maker game players, which is cringe just saying that phrase, that do this. And I think it is very pretentious. Who are you to play anybody's game and judge it? Now, trust me, I've played devil's advocate to this, and I'm going to try to talk a little bit about that too. But we'll try to weave in my rant with the actual gameplay here. Let's talk to Abby in the tent. Hello, I'm Abby. I have some special goods to help you within this zone. Oh, we get a background. Buy. What do we have? We don't have any iron, and that seems to be our currency. But anyways, we'll need 10 iron to buy a Forest of Souls retreat, which sends you back to the camp. 65 to buy Unholy Blood, which is just a cup filled with blood. I have a feeling that that's an upgrade material. But we'll see. If it's not, don't tell me, Dev. I want to experience all of it on my own. The fountain has been depleted. Hope this powerful water will return. Gee, if I'd known that. I no longer really cook due to lack of materials being supplied here. Hello. But I do have some things to sell. Rusty helmet, moldy armor, demon mead, and demon egg. And when all you have is the blood of your enemy at hand. Oh, that's a shield. The demon mead is a shield. The demon mead is a cup that I am literally holding up in front of me, trying to protect myself from oncoming melee attacks. The body armor is moldy armor. Was found at the edge of a lake, covered in mold. Guess it is better than nothing. Yeah, until you scratch yourself and get tetanus, and the wound becomes infected with the mold from the armor, the various flora, bacteria that live in the lake, the edge of which it was found. Camp chef no longer needed it. I wonder why. And the rusty helmet. No clue as to why use this as a weapon, but okay. The demon egg. Weapon? Demon egg weapon. Okay, we're gonna leave. Don't forget to equip the things that you bought. I bought nothing and I regret nothing. Here's the developer. Is this Ashley himself? Welcome to the demo of Everlasting Quest Legacy. Please select from one of the following. Bug reports, screenshot no mouse, game mechanics, rename, FPS refresh token, cancel. We're gonna cancel for now. And then I'll interact with the FPS refresh. Just curious about that. It just whomps you into another map. And then I think the camp entrance. Wait, there's a well. When you interact with the well, you gather 2 flasks of water. By leaving this campsite, you will have, as future versions are released, we'll have more in-depth goals. The main purpose of this demo is to allow concepts to be implemented in practice for the live version of this. Leveling up some per zone is recommended, as each zone will have different monster difficulties. Take note as well, these features currently exist within this campsite. Well, which gives water. Fountain, which restores HP MP each so often. The tent is a special NPC for the zone. Future zones will have their very own as well. The man sitting beyond the campfire will sell you spells, which you can only learn once. I'm unsure at the moment on how to stop him from selling you a second copy of after you have learned it using the first copy. Switches, and each page will have its own shop event with customized. There's no way to get in there and customize that list based on switches by itself. You have to make different page events. The man standing by the wagon has his own set of dialogue, which can be helpful if you'd like to learn more. Waypoint system. How this will work is, as long as you have visited the waypoint of that zone, you'll be able to travel back to it from future zones. Cooking system, which is done at the campfire. Equipment merchant is the camp chef. Have fun, and remember inside the folder this game is the credit list of creators and companies. which was also on like the splash screen, which I don't think I caught when I began recording. So I'm going to go ahead and leave, and we're going to try to gather the materials for the Witchblade while I talk a little bit about although I thought I was going to get warped to another location. That's not the case yet. Talk a little bit about accepting money to review somebody's game. So there's a lot to take in here. Look at this UI. I see the Voltaic Fiend, a beautiful orb over a blue bar that also has a number that reads 108, a red bar of 337. I myself have 200 MP and 525 hit points. I think... Oh, there's also an orb, which is a bit harder for me to see, but there it is, behind the red bar. So that must be his health. The blue bar must be his mana. He is a Voltaic Fiend. I am level 1, but number 9. I guess that's my name. Let's attack first. He used Fist Punch. Oh, he doesn't get a damage animation? Blood Gem, 80% chance to recover 25% MP. 12% HP cost. There's no reason to use that yet. All I can really do is attack him with fists over and over, and or die trying. Yeah, so I now have a couple of tiers on my own Patreon, which is talking out of both sides of my mouth and going to sound very hypocritical. I say a couple of tiers. I introduced 3 new tiers on my Patreon, one of which is allowing Cornelius to play your game, which is going to take a lot of time and editing and basically trying to get that figured out. But it'll be a very special treat because I'll never do that, casually. Another one is getting Nilbog to play your game. It'll be more of a VTuber kind of experience. And the third tier that I introduced was me providing a critique. But I don't want people to just do this and then throw a game at me unless they understand who I am, what I like, how I'm going to interpret their game based on my experience, and how none of my experience means anything. Because if you're a content creator, or even if you're not a content creator, if you've got 5 years of experience playing games, or you have 20 years or 30 years of experience playing games or RPGs, you've played them all, you know how downhill they've come over the years. That means nothing. That literally has no value whatsoever as it is presented. Why? Because, friend, you have experience in consuming media. And that is a very subjective... Oh, I just gathered an herb by walking into it. Oh, that's how that do. I couldn't discern whether it was just part of the background, but there you go. Cool. That's a Scorched Fiend. I do have enough hit points, I think, to get rid of him. And he takes a little bit less off now that I'm level 2. So in the grand scheme of things, you might wonder, well, Ash, how dare you? Well, what skill do you have? I don't. I have experience consuming media, just like anybody else who plays RPGs, who loves RPGs. And you can love RPGs as much as you want, and you can even design games, and you can even have games released that have your name on them. It doesn't mean that you are more or less qualified to review someone else's work. And I'll tell you why. The shortest, easiest, dumbest way I know how. Some of you have played Final Fantasy. There are people that haven't. That's not like a big surprise. That's fine. Of course, there are people that have not played Final Fantasy. But if you are one of those people that have played Final Fantasy, which ones have you played? Can you give me a list? Perhaps... Oh, that didn't give me very much. of a reward at all. I think because because he was much weaker, I suppose. No, we're not gonna do that. I have 38 iron. Ooh. Oh, darn it. I was gonna try to buy the egg. Well, we are gonna equip. Oh, I didn't look at this yet. Interesting. The Sword of Swords, the Book of Grim War. That's my shield. Let's put on my moldy armor. That's gonna bring my defense up. My accuracy and my health are all gonna go up a little bit too. That's nice. That's very nice. Yep, it's back. Good deal. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of grinding, but it feels good so far, so I don't mind that at all. Gathered some bone chips. Looks like there's a warp there for to get higher ground. Take a look around. All right, I told you I was going to tell you, explain this to you. Let us speak contextually to those who have played multiple Final Fantasies. Rank them. Rank them in order from best to worst. And now tell me, after you've done that, are you going to find somebody who agrees with your assessment? That is the easiest, dumbest way I can try to explain why your experience in consuming media does not matter. The only way that it really truly matters is if we apply a lot of context to why we would be worth using as testers, as feedback givers. I'm looking for people, very specific folks, to give me feedback on very specific things for a game that I'm developing. It doesn't mean that I'm not open to change or ideas or negative feedback or anything like that. But I need for them to understand what it is that they are judging before I take them on. And if they're trying to judge it outside the scope of what it actually is, their feedback's not going to be worth as much to me, because it is very likely, although it's almost impossible to tell, it is very likely that they would not be in my audience, my targeted demographic. If your favorite Final Fantasy, for example, is, say, 6, and somebody else's favorite Final Fantasy is, say, 10, are you always going to be able to work out that the reason for that is perhaps something very arbitrary, like did you perhaps experience them at different ages? What other games were you playing around the same time that you were playing those specific Final Fantasies? And if you haven't played Final Fantasy, this example can still apply to you. Just replace Final Fantasy with any series of RPGs. Or go ahead and replace it with any company's lineup of RPGs, even if they're not related. My favorite Final Fantasy is, right now it's 14, and I say right now because it was 7 at first. And that also happens to be the first Final Fantasy that I ever played. And I was blown away by the commercial, and I'd never seen any of the other Final Fantasies before. And at the time that I was playing PlayStation games at home, RPGs were getting me through some rough times in life, and Final Fantasy VII was very accessible. It was like $20 for the greatest hits version at Walmart. So of course I have numerous positive memories associated with Final Fantasy VII. And Final Fantasy VIII, now I have a little bit of expectation. I have a little bit of precedence that has been set. I understand summons. I get the Final Fantasy tropes of Cid and water-based names for main characters and enemies and summons all being kind of the same. And the active turn-based system all makes sense to me, so I play Final Fantasy VIII. And I highly enjoyed Final Fantasy VIII. I curiously heard somebody call it overrated the other day. Final Fantasy VIII is I'm going to say objectively not overrated, and I'm not saying it because I happen to really like the game. I'm saying it because I've never heard anybody rate Final Fantasy VIII highly to begin with, which is the prerequisite for calling something overrated. Everybody seems to have the same gripes over Final Fantasy VIII's junction system and how whiny Squall seems to be, and that makes sense. But don't call it overrated. You could call it appropriately rated. So we're still grinding. There's a tent. What's over here at the tent? 15 iron is at the tent. That's nice. So, kind of going on with my point here, you're going to have a vastly different set of preferences when it comes to RPG series, features in an RPG, what you're looking for, what you're inspired by, what really got to you at that prime window age where you were really impressionable as to what kind of experiences there were in games. Me, I don't see Final Fantasy VI as a big deal. I can't agree with somebody who says it's the best. I've read things on how half the cast are pretty much useless in terms of story. Does it have great moments? I'm sure it does. I actually haven't played it. I will play it one of these days. I can't say I haven't played it. I actually played the first 5 hours of gameplay, and I played it on my PlayStation, and something happened with my disc because it was part of Final Fantasy Anthology, but after the disc got scratched or whatever it was, I couldn't play it anymore, and I had never had the willpower to go boot up a ROM or anything. It's hard for me to get past Terra and the mech warrior things walking for 30 minutes across the snow while the intro credits play. That's a difficult thing for me to sit through over and over again. Leveled up, yay! I got a small bag of iron. I wonder if I could sell that. So being that our tastes are all vastly different, we're all going to have very different opinions on games. Now at this point you might say, Ash, duh, we're supposed to, and we are, I agree. That's not my point exactly. My point is, you cannot be authoritative with your opinion. You have to disclaimer that your opinion is going to mean very little unless the developer wants you specifically as a tester, and of course, or as a reviewer. And people are going to review games regardless. People are going to give their opinions, but there's a reason that game journalism is going to crap. And it's roughly the same reason that I'm so disenchanted by RPG Maker content creators that review games. All they want to do is compare them to established games that were made by teams of people who had the chops and the budget to actually pay their employees, as a living, to collaborate and make these games that were published on platforms. Like Squaresoft, you're not making a game like Squaresoft makes games. You're making an independent project in an RPG making engine. Is that my camp? No, that's an exit. I don't want to go there yet. And it doesn't make any sense to review it as anything but that. And its age is old now. It's neither here nor there, but it's still relevant to my point that I'm making now. I've seen RPG Maker content creators judge games that very harshly in a context that the game was never meant to be in because it was just submitted to a jam. Or it was that person's first game, which, surprise, surprise, a lot of people that use RPG Maker are using it so they can make their first RPG ever. And do so without having to be subject to the same expectation of those as, say, those working for Squaresoft. That's just my take. It's been my take for a long time, and it's a take that I've developed over time. It's not, I just want to start drama or crap. It really is just, to me, it's simple, and I see that for some folks, it's much easier to just play something, crap all over it, and make content out of that. And I think that that's very toxic. So what I am hoping to get done here today is, in the time I have left, provide for you a little bit about my background. The developer and I know one another. I'm not going to compare this to like PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2 games. I'm not going to point out all the limitations and things like that I see from using this engine extensively, the same RPG engine that this is made in. I will simply give, oh God, I'm going to die, my feedback based on my limited experience and the limited amount of media that I have consumed during my very specific preferences that I have built up over time of playing games. And that is all I think any reviewer can do, and provide those opinions in a balanced way as elegantly as possible. So, I grew up playing Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. I had both. I had a Nintendo Entertainment System as well. In fact, that was the first system that I had, but I did not see a lot of RPGs out in the wild. I went to a pawn shop regularly with my dad and bought Nintendo games, NES, for $15 a piece every week, every 2 weeks, something like that. I ended up with a bit of a library as a kid, but I need the healing waters of the well. But almost none of these were RPGs. In fact, the only RPG that I played proper was Dragon Warrior. And I was not good at it. I learned what saving meant. Do I have enough for you yet? Witchblade Man. I think I have. Do I have? No. Nope. I need more bones and herbs. No! Stop! Stop talking to me. I don't want to talk to you by running into you. That much I can say right now. The Camp Chef and the Witchblade talk as soon as I touch them. I would rather be able to hit a button to talk to them. But if that's not the vision of the dev, that's fine. That gripe is simply my own. And it is a very small gripe. No, and even fewer RPGs for Super Nintendo. I think the only... After we moved to Missouri from Texas, I did find a few more RPGs, and now I'm in my teens. I found Breath of Fire, and I found Secret of Mana, and I found Shadowrun. And it is these three games that form like the most, and these three and Dragon Warrior for the Nintendo Entertainment System, that form the crux of my earliest experiences with RPGs. They are the foundation. Oh my God. That is a skeleton in a barrel. Burning. It's important that I include that information. These games form the foundation of my expectations for everything that I play after. I don't know if expectation's the right word. They're the precedent. They're what I kind of think about when I associate what an RPG is with what's in front of me. Now, I went on to get a PlayStation, and once I did that, the world of RPGs opened up very much to me. Yes, there are a ton of RPGs for Super Nintendo. Chrono Trigger is one of them. I never found Chrono Trigger in the wild when I was younger. I never played Chrono Trigger. I still, to this day, except for like the first hour and a half of gameplay, have not played Chrono Trigger. I know I'm missing out. I'm definitely going to want to play it at some point, but I haven't played it yet. So, that's only important because it's to tell you, just because you've played Chrono Trigger, you don't necessarily need to compare every RPG you've played to Chrono Trigger and say, that's what makes a great game. Look to Chrono Trigger. Look to Final Fantasy, bleh, insert number here. You could do that, but you sound dumb doing it. Don't compare new games to older games as if they need to follow a pattern. And if you spot similarities between any two games, or between a new game and like 50 old games, and you're disenfranchised by it, it's because you've overexposed yourself. You've got nobody to blame for that. Not even really like yourself, because you're not playing the game to have fun, which that is your choice. That is on you. But rather to critique it. And this stuff is why I don't critique the games that I play on the channel. I just play them, and I want to encourage the developers. I'm not lying. I'm not putting a candy coating on the experience of the gameplay. It's just I'm not playing it in the same context. I'm not saying that I'm smarter or better than anybody else. I'm just, when I play a game on the channel, I want to highlight what the dev figured out how to do in the engine in which they were working. I want to highlight where I see that extra effort and extra work was put in. And when I see that there was not extra effort or extra work put into any particular part, I'm not going to point it out because I don't know why there isn't extra effort. Is it because the dev doesn't know how to 3D model? I'm not going to fault them for that. The dev already has to wear 80 hats to make their game. Is it because they're using default music? I'm not going to fault them for that. Hi! Here are my waypoints. I'm going to stay in this level 1 to 5 region. I'm doing pretty good so far. But I am getting off topic. I'm kind of talking about a number of different things all at once. One of the things that I wanted to kind of highlight was what you're seeing now is an RPG made by somebody who didn't know what games I necessarily have played. Doesn't know my whole backstory like I'm giving right now. My current favorite games of all time, RPG-wise, are, and I've said this many times, so it's been pretty consistent, Xenogears, Star Ocean 2, Wild Arms 2, and Threads of Fate. Those are my top 4. Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 5 are probably my favorite Final Fantasies, although I will say I don't know how well they've aged. 5 had an awesome strategic element to it. 7 was just very experiential for me, and I'm very sentimental to that. And I hate the new iterations of 7. I cannot stand how whiny and how edgelord they make everybody. That stuff was fine way back. It doesn't age well today, though. What bones do I have now? I don't have a problem with 8. I actually did think Squall was kind of cool. I don't play and have never been able to play and enjoy myself with Kingdom Hearts. And there's a lot of newer games in different series that I haven't really enjoyed, but I've enjoyed the series a lot. I didn't like Breath of Fire 3 nearly as much as I liked the first Breath of Fire. I didn't like Breath of Fire 4 nearly as much as I liked Breath of Fire 3, so now we're really talking differences. Final Fantasies, I never really met one that I didn't like, except I cannot stand the first one. I know that is some folks' bread and butter. I know that's seminal to so many RPG people's foundational knowledge and their first experience, and I hate it, though. I hate it. I would have hated it if it was the first game that I'd played, because I could barely stand Dragon Quest. But I learned Dragon Quest, and while I could have learned Final Fantasy 2, I'm sure, I don't think I would have enjoyed it, because I can't enjoy it today, but I can still enjoy Dragon Quest. Talking about the first game in each series. And then, basically, PlayStation 2 and 3 have kind of skipped. There's been experiences here and there, but none of them have been nearly as meaningful. PlayStation 4, however, that's a completely different story. I've played some amazing RPGs on PlayStation 4. I've loved a lot of games that I've played on PlayStation 4. And that's about the bulk of my experience. Everything else is my own design choices and trying to come up with new things. And whenever I play a game now, I look at it through a lens of, how did they do that? How can I steal this idea? So, not these games, but commercially available games that get released on platforms like Nintendo Switch and so on. I'm playing, what am I playing? Nelk? Atelier, she's not an Atelier. It's part of the Atelier series, kind of. It's Atelier adjacent, but it's Nelk. It's a city building type game. A lot of fun. It has a lot of charm. I'm enjoying myself playing it. It's very, very different than a lot of other games that I've played, though. So this has had a lot of work put into it. Let me go ahead and stop talking about myself here. This has had a ton of work put into it so far, and I can tell that just from the initial opening experience here. And this is something I'm going to continue playing. I'm going to do at least one more episode of this length, so that I can explore the next zone and kind of see how the balance changes. There's some tiny things here and there. Little frame drops and stuff that might be happening because of my recording software and because of my camera and things like that. When these things are turned off, I see a lot of improvement in a lot of places. Surprise, surprise. So, like, my build is also, like, not the newest. I've got an i7 10K Coffee Lake. I've got a 2080, I believe, graphics card, RTX 2080. I've got 2 terabytes of SSD, so things run pretty. So I'm gonna go ahead and go a different direction. Things run pretty smoothly on my SSD, and I'm playing this in full screen, which is what the developer recommends at the beginning of the game. I'm enjoying how simple the combat is, and I'm enjoying that trade-off of, like, dopamine every time I win a battle, and knowing that I'm getting stronger, like, by quite a bit. I'm going to use this skill for once to see how this works. I'm not going to... Oh god. That's what it did. That did. That was cool. I'm definitely going to become a Witchblade. I'm going to grab the different materials in order to trade to the vendor to do that, to the guild master. And I'll be talking a lot more about the game next time instead of myself. Sorry about that. But I really did want to rant a bit about the practice of charging people to play their stuff. I don't love that practice at all. But if somebody understands exactly who you are and what you perceive, how you perceive things, and kind of what your experience is in playing games, and kind of the angle that you like to have, then I can see there being a value in it. Just blindly saying, hey, I'll play your game and give me money, that is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't care who you are. Anybody that is doing that is being exploitative, and they are completely disregarding any sort of context in which not only the game is presented, but they themselves as a so-called reviewer. And I'm not calling anybody in specific out, I'm calling everybody out who does that. And you're not going to get that from me. So, I told you kind of what my experience is and the kind of direction that I would recommend the game go in. I can't give until I've played the game substantially more. If you boot up a game and within the first 5 minutes you're starting to make comparisons, you're not smart, you're pretentious. You don't know enough about the game to make valid assessments yet. 5 minutes might be enough time for you to absorb more than an average consumer of media, but as an advanced consumer of media, you're only going to absorb so much before you need to let the game love you back. So, oh, what's that? What's that? Bones everywhere. God, this is so grim. It's grim without being gothic necessarily. I love it. Not that I don't love gothic stuff. I mean, come on. But all that aside, all that said, I'm going to be curious how these battles increase in difficulty and how the skills that I have may be used to sort of strategize how I approach different fights. I'm guessing once I become a Witchblade, I'll have skills since I still don't have any yet. And I'm level 4 going on 5. But I can also say that I like the music direction. I'm sad this doesn't give me anything. I thought I would be able to get like a bone cache. Oh, there's bone here. There's bones there. That's good. That's good. What am I at now with bones? Small bag I got 4 iron. Oh, I could probably use those, huh? Open to collect your newfound iron. Yeah. 16 iron collected from the bag. That's amazing. I love that. I love that as a reward. Very good. Are they variable? They are variable. Yes. Yes. Always Give me items like that. I love items like that. Allowed a waypoint to the Force of Souls. Book of Grimna. These are things that I don't need anymore. I need more bone chips. I need 4 more bone chips, and then I can become a Witchblade. That, however, is going to have to wait till the next episode because I'm out of time. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to Evolution Artist for letting me check this out ahead of time and giving me the privilege of giving him feedback. I know the feedback in this video was very, very little, and that's why I want to make sure I do him proper justice by doing a second video. And I'm just going to go completely in the game experience itself. So I apologize for getting off track the entire time, but I really did want to talk about that and make sure I put down a nice bed of context for why I would even be doing this when I preach against paid reviews so much. Thank you guys for watching. Comment anything you like down below. If you want to contribute to that discussion or make comments about this game in particular, that's fine. Either of those things. If you just want to tell me I suck, that's good too. I could take it. And I will see you next video. So have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.